We're going to welcome the Syrian artist Laila Muraywid. She lives in Paris, and now we are having a conversation with her at her studio in Paris. Laila Muraywid was born in Damascus in Syria in 1956. She graduated from the Faculty of Fine Arts in Damascus and later continued her studies at the Ecole Nationale Superieure des Beaux-Arts in Paris. Our main subject and our request for a conversation and discussion with Laila Muraywid is based on our upcoming exhibition, the central theme of which is nude in art. And the fact that Laila Muraywid has tackled the female body in much of her works, whether in photography, in drawing, or in sculpture, it would be our pleasure and honor to have Laila tell us more about nudes as a genre of art in general, and later on we will get to be introduced more and understand more her works, one of which is behind me, which is a part of the collection of the Dallul Art Foundation, and another one is behind our beautiful artist, Laila.
First, I would like to thank you for your invitation to be part of the exhibition you're preparing, and I'm happy to be part of it. To talk about my work is really to talk about women and their body, but it's a way of talking about the body, but from the inside, and to try to give this outside form, to give it an inside feeling and an inside way of seeing it. I always work with the body of the woman. The axis of my work is on the female body. But what interests me is how to work with the body, how to work, whether it's naked or not, it's not important, because very often it's seen as naked, especially the female body. I'm a sculptor who do photography, but it's periodic for me, and I do very often drawings. But it's always the center of the work is the body of the woman.
Could you tell us a little bit about your understanding of nude art in general? You were telling me about the evolution of nudity in art, and later on we will go deeper and deeper into your works.
I think there's a kind of a difference between the naked and the nude. The naked is not accepted because it's related to the body, to the lived sexuality, but the nude is accepted because it's related to the metaphysics, to the way the Greek philosophy made us see the beauty through the naked body, and to see the essence of beauty, the essence of things in the naked body. So it became more or less accepted. But I think it's with the genesis, with Jean Van Eyck, that the first naked woman, Eve, was shown or was done. But it's with the 16th century that the way the nude was looked at became different, especially with the Venetian artists like Tintoretto, like Veronese. The way they treated the body of the woman was very sensual and was very fleshy. And at that time, women also that were painted, they looked at the spectator, or the one who is going to own the painting. They looked at it as if they were ready to be seen or accepted as a sight, as an object to be acquired.
Yeah, I'm quite happy that you've opened this subject in differentiating the nudes and the naked. So would you agree with art historian Kenneth Clark that the way he describes nude art as an idealized form of art, at the time where for Kenneth Clark the naked is more of the embarrassed body? But then again comes another art historian who discusses this subject, who is John Berger, and he considers the naked body not as an embarrassed body, but as a body that is free. Would you consider your works, if we are to differentiate between nudes and nakeds, more naked in the eye of John Berger, like freed from this male gaze, freed from this idealization of form?
I actually think that a body that feels is looked at cannot be free, because he always has the idea of the other looking at this body. But a free body is a body that can be one with oneself. I mean, not to feel the look of the other, not to feel the presence of the other, to feel a kind of, to accept oneself.
So now we're touching on a subject that we agreed to speak about later, which is the self and the body, which is a highly feminist approach, true? Like differentiating the material body from oneself. So if you have freed your inner self, you are free in body too?
If it's possible, yes. Because it's not always possible. But if it is, I think if I talk from my experience as an artist, I think that a woman artist has a different experience from a male artist. And this is very important for me, because now, in a way, female artists or artists who propose subjects related to the feminine side, or to feminine issues, or to feminine experience, now is in a way tolerated, because before it was dismissed, because it was looked at from a patriarchal eye, and it's still till now, till lately, that women artists started to be accepted and to be seen, because before they were nearly invisible.
So we're talking more about the objectification of the body of the woman and the male gaze that is most spoken about. The fact that you have touched on the very important subject that you are a female artist depicting the female body. Can you tell us more about who has inspired you, a feminist or a writer, or who has inspired you, and what is the philosophy that you kind of relate to, let's say, and you've told me before about the relationship of the female's body and nature. Can you tell us more about that?
Lately, I've been working with many philosophers, but I've just found that the work of Val Plumwood is very appropriate to my way of thinking, and she's working on re-evaluating the identity, how to see the identity of the woman, to reconsider the identity of the woman through nature, because before, woman was not only marginalized but put in an inferior level in relation to nature. And this eco-feminist philosopher, she is re-evaluating and giving more positive values to nature and to women.
Okay. Can you tell me more, how was the woman perceived before? Was she perceived as kind of a minority?
It's more this dualistic philosophy that all the Western philosophy is based on. It's always putting things one against the other, man against woman, master and slave. It's a kind of duality that inferiorizes the other. And that is a big problem, because when you put the humanity outside nature, that all kind of injustice flows from that. It's race and sexism and all kind. So it's important to be part of nature, to re-evaluate our way of looking at nature, and that means evaluate our way of looking at women also.
Okay. How does Laila Muraywid look at nature?
As part of nature, I'd like to be as part of nature, not this relations, hierarchization of values. I find it's a positive value to be part of nature. We are all parts of nature, and to accept that we are part of nature, to go back to our place, because man thinks that he is
superior
out of nature, he is superior to nature. And for me, this is not the case. We are part, and we are a very small part.
Okay. This freedom that you have talked about and this equality in nature, has it freed you and hence expressed in your art?
Sure, because it helps you to see things from a different angle, to re-evaluate relations and identities, and to see more how to get out of a fixed, definitive ending, as if we only have this possibility, this or this, to be, for instance, a woman or a prostitute, to be, it's only black and white. But what interests me is all the other shades of gray that goes in between. And life is in the details. It's not in this destructive opposites.
Very interesting. You have touched on a very artistic 3 words you said, the shades of gray, which will bring us to the amazing work that is behind me, Obedience to Poetry, that was depicted by yourself, created in 2013. It's a work done by pencil, and you have introduced a little bit of pastel. And as we can see, it is between black, white, and all the shades of gray that you have built up in drawing this amazing triptych. Laila, can you tell us more about this work? And can you tell us more about most of the models that you either photograph or draw or present in your works, and your choice, let's say, of your subject? First of all, let us talk about Obedience to Poetry 2013, the one that is behind me.
It starts with the pencil ashbe, usually. It's me facing the void, me facing an empty space. How can I go in? How can I understand the surface with different kind of pencils that I use between the ash and the bees. The ash are very harsh, and they give very hard touch on the paper. While the bees, they are very smooth, and they knead with the surface of the paper. And when I work with the bee and the 2B and all this, and it becomes a kind of meditation for me. It flows exactly. It's more like working with it becomes repetitive in a way, and at the same time it becomes something very interior and exterior. It's how the pencil becomes something invisible and at the same time gives form. It's going into the inside, although I'm drawing something on the outside, although it's something very physical, but it's more how soft and how hard I touch the paper, the surface. And this feeling is so full. So it makes you so full from the inside. And it gives you kind of a relation with everything and nothing at the same time. But it puts you facing yourself and facing the model who is sitting sometimes for a long time, just watching. And it's a very special relation.
So Laila, are you trying to tell me that the diptych behind me was a model, live model in front of you? You were drawing her?
Exactly.
She lasted all this time until you finished the work?
Until she was really mad at the end.
She must be really patient.
She's a dancer. I worked with her for many things, and she's such a beautiful person. But sometimes I needed to work for hours, and it was very interesting how to not deform, how to make a thigh longer without noticing that it's longer, without noticing that the hand behind you is much elongated. I make not deformations, I make changes that the eye sometimes do not understand what is the work behind. Is it real, or they feel there is strangeness, but they can't depict what's the reason behind that.
It's as if you have taken her from the exterior where she is and position her into your mind where everything is happening and where you're penciled the way you have explained. It becomes a relationship between you, the model, and the material that you're working with?
Exactly, because it's a kind of me. At the end, you know, when you have the model for hours facing you, you don't see her anymore. You see yourself, and she is not modeling anymore. She is herself. And this is very interesting for me, because it's just like a second, in a fraction of a second in time, but it lasts for such a long time.
When I first spoke to you about the work behind me, you told me it's a moment, an experience of intimacy. Listening to you now, it kind of reflects your own personal intimacy between you and yourself and your thoughts. And when I look at the work itself, I feel as if I am looking at the intimacy of the model herself, even if she was posing for you, but both of you went into a different trance. There is something in common between you. Can you tell me more about this intimacy?
I think what's interesting in this situation is that there's a moment when she forgets her intimacy, and I forget that I am looking at her intimate body also. And this is the point, this is the moment where something happens. And this is where it becomes interesting, because I can enter into the one who is facing me, and she is part of me. So there's no
barrier.
No, yes, there's nothing between us. It's just as if we are one. And this is very, very important to go beyond work, to go beyond the act of drawing, the act of painting, is when you're not acting, you're not drawing. It becomes like meditation, like the act itself. It becomes something very sensual and at the same time very intimate.
Laila, the work behind me is a triptych, so it kind of has a story, like something has begun, then there's a climax somehow, and there's some kind of an ending. Am I getting this correctly? And later on we'll talk about the dolls. But first of all, tell us, why have you chosen to have a triptych, which is by itself a narrative, a beginning, a middle, and an end?
A triptych is also a religious position of a painting. And I started from this point of view. But after I started with the first one, it's the body. It's a way to talk about the beauty of this body, about the sexuality of this body, the hair of this woman that I was drawing, the softness of her body, the everything is, yes, it could be a story. It could be a story, but what's important for me is that everybody can tell the story in his own way and can read it in his own way.
Yeah. What is the relationship with religion? What is the relationship with you first started telling me that it's a triptych. Can you develop more on this?
When you talk about the nude, yeah. It's normal that we talk about everything, like religion, like all the forbidden, what's accepted, about morals, what should be, what shouldn't be. So it's once you start dealing with the body and the female body, so much entity, so much laws, so much things to be said and not to be said.
So we're touching more on taboos now.
Straight. Once you work with the body, a naked body, you're talking about taboos, about secrets, about barriers, about what ancestral barriers, about how we are in life, in how everything is codified.
Okay. Now you're going to tell us about the dolls that you have in this work. At the beginning, there's a doll next to her, and then we have 3 dolls that she is looking at while she is sleeping on her belly. And then in the last part, it seems as if she throws those dolls to the side and just reposes. Can you tell us more about the presence of dolls? And I think you've dealt with dolls in most of your works, even in your sculptures, but let us talk about the dolls in this work first.
Very, very often, women were related to dolls as beautiful, silly. The other day, somebody told me that a beautiful woman is a beautiful, silly doll. And I was... Sometimes I'm shocked because I can't understand how, because at the beginning dolls, for religious reasons also, they were sculpted for religious reasons. But after they became more intimate and they became parts of the childhood of everybody, like all girls play with their dolls, and their dolls is their best friends, and dolls is an image of what we impose on these dolls and what we want the dolls to say or to react. It's always, the doll is, we are the master and we tell the dolls what to do and what not to do. And we are very often treated as dolls. Women are always treated as objects, as dolls, as something to be sometimes used and thrown away. And okay.
Yeah, so you have managed to express your introduction of dolls in 2 interesting ways. At the beginning, it's kind of a second persona to the woman. It's like her and herself, her body and herself, and then being treated as an object the way you have explained now. And this is where you touch more on the objectification of the female's body. And this can get us, by the way, after we have spoken about this amazing work behind me and the way you have expressed the material and the way you execute it, this can bring us to the work that is behind you. And I think over there, the work of art that is behind you, and I guess it's photography, true?
Yes, it is photography.
And which touches on a more controversial, let's say, subject.
This body of woman is out of the habitual way of looking at women and seeing beauty. I think there's more freedom in this body than in other women's body, because it's kind of freedom she accepted herself. And very often, women do not accept themselves as they are. They accept the image that it's imposed on them. But they very rarely accept themselves as they are. And this woman, she did. And that's why I feel that she has an enormous kind of beauty, something like a deess. She's beyond beauty.
Laila, the work behind you is entitled A Poem That Doesn't Heal. And correct me if I'm wrong, you explained to me that she was a woman who was sent into exile. Pardon, I think this is something that I read. Sent into exile because she chose to free herself from her protagonist. What is the story exactly behind this woman? And I remember maybe when I watched the video that you have bequeathed to Adonis, maybe on his birthday, I don't know, and you told him, I'm so happy about the work that we've done together, and you have spoken about this woman in particular, and you've explained how حررت نفسها, she has freed herself, she was courageous enough to free herself. Can you tell us more about the story?
There's two things mixed together. It's the same woman that I used for the book I made with Adonis, because we made a book together. It's about a book called L'histoire qui se déchire sur le corps d'une femme. And I used the same to express two different things. And here, in this case, which is the same woman but in a different position. Here she freed herself, but there she was there to be as a gift.
So this goddess behind you has freed herself, Laila, from what exactly? From the gaze of society or what?
Society. What is society? Society is not only men. Society is men and women. Because very often it's not only a question to be liberated from men, but also to be liberated from what is imposed on women.
Most of your women photographed, drawn, depicted in different mediums, they are somehow covered, either with a shawl or with a cloth, something that is very thin, like organza, like silk. Have you ever tried depicting a complete nude female, or do you think that this is kind of a protection?
I usually work with the idea of, with the dynamic of opposites. A naked body doesn't need anything. It's beautiful as it is. Whatever it is, it's beautiful. But I think it's important to put it against something or in relation with something. And this is why it's always important to put the woman in a different situation, and something that's, covers her, not totally, that makes the other question.
So it gives more contrast between her nudity and her covered part.
It's more the mystery, to keep the mystery, because it's very important for me to keep the mystery of the body. The body is not something to be seen completely and by anybody. It's something to be seen by intervals and by fragments and through my eyes.
So this can get us to your jewelry, which are sculptures basically, and that you have once explained that they kind of empower the female's body. And now we will have the chance to see more of your sculptural works, and you will explain to us the role of those sculptures that you create. How have you kind of amalgamated, blended nature with the kind of something that would protect or give more power to the female body? Let us talk more about that.
Okay.
So aside from working with photography, with drawings, pencil, pastel, Laila Muraywid also creates amazing pieces of sculptures. So many people have described them as armor-like sculptures, as if they complete or embrace the female's body, or at times just express, as you have this piece on the floor, deconstructed or ruptured limbs that are part of the human body, not only the female body.
I needed to create a language that's always related to these opposites, the hard and the soft, the beautiful and the ugly. For me, I needed to create something that's very beautiful, and at the same time it could be frightening, or it could be ununderstood or unaccepted, because again we go back to the idea of parts of the human body, and when you deal with parts, with the intimate parts, with the genital parts, you create objection. So it was necessary for me. The name of this work is called The Wedding. And it's about how very often women are crucified by their dreams, by their intimate lives. So I use the language of jewelry. Language of jewelry because also jewelry is considered as something less important. I mean, it's related to class, it's related to sex, it's related to your position in life, how rich you are. Jewelry has a very special language. It's just like the language of the body. And that what really interested me is to create this language. So the use of stones, sometimes very often not precious, but the use of stones as a different way that diffuse light, a different way that deal with other materials like shen, like iron, like disposed or rejected materials that we just throw away, and to build something as a jewelry. As jewelry, as something that shines, but shines differently.
Can you tell me more about the relationship of this introduction of pieces of whether semi-precious or maybe precious or non-precious at all, shining stones and this metal? How does it relate to those limbs that are coming up? You know, are they connecting the limbs or are they showing more and more of kind of a deconstruction and rupture?
It's more deconstruction of the female body. How every part is seen by itself alone. How things, we never see a female body entirely. We always see parts of it. We are always attracted to certain parts of it. But to crucify this beautiful body was an idea that I couldn't but tempted.
Yeah. Laila, can you tell us more about the procedure of how you work out those sculptures? Do you put them in molds? Do you pour the metal? Or do you work all these by hand? The way you have explained to us how you deal with a pencil from H to HB, etc. Can you tell us more about the materiality and more about the construction of those pieces?
Yeah. I mix very often the very old methods of putting plaster on the body. And this also, the operation by itself is very interesting. When the plaster on the body, something at the beginning it's cold and then it becomes very hot and then it takes the form of the body. It's fascinating how the other person that I sculpt on her feels. And then I color it, I paint it, I make it more like flesh, so near to flesh. It's no more plaster, it's more flesh, living flesh, but cut and distorted. And then there's the other part that I add with resin and all the materials that I encrust, that I force on the form. And it's the whole operation that builds the work. And also there's another part which is important. It's this invisible part, that the relation that builds between the spectator and the work. It's how it is seen, on what basis, if it is high, if it's the same level as the eyes, if it's so many things are related to sculpture, and that's why I love sculpture, because it's more related to the spectator than a painting or a drawing. The spectator feels like he could enter into it.
So it's the relationship, let's say, between our body as viewers and the three-dimensionality that you have in a sculpture. If I were there standing next to it, I would have definitely come closer to the central part. You have kept it open, as if you're telling me that you want me to see how torn this body is from inside, but at the same time you have added to it this level of shiny jewelry, to embrace it or to accentuate the fact that it is crucified. If you were to lead, let's say, the viewer by the eye, which parts are more important and most expressive about your message? Can you walk us through in this piece?
It's every part is important because every detail makes the whole. And you can't without each of the details that are in the work. But we can start with the arms, with the flesh. It's almost alive. But it leads you to the center, as you said. And the center is the origin of the world, finally. So it's the mystery that makes the whole, the everything. And I insist differently from Courbet, is that here it's a real woman. It's not just a beautiful woman, it's a real woman who is crucified somewhere, but enveloped with beauty, enveloped with something shining and spectacular, and it's just as if it's the celebration of life met with the fragmentation and the hardness of death. It's just the two of them at the same time.
Laila, as you have explained, the arms and the hands those are sculpted by yourself. This is the part where it's covered with resin. It was plaster and then covered with resin. This is it? This is the part?
Everything is covered with resin. Everything. But different kind of resin and different ways of dealing with resin.
And can you tell me more about the stones that you use inside? Where do you get them from? How do you collect them? Can you tell us a little bit about the names of the stones that you use?
In this work, it's not precious stones. It's just stones that shine and that gives light to special parts of the work. In other works, I use sometimes semi-stones, semi-precious stones. But in this work, no. In this work, it's only materials that I collect because I collect everything. I need to accumulate and to watch for a while, and then I know I'll use and make something out of it. It's just as if the materials that I collect, I have to digest first and then to do something with it.
Yeah. Do you have in the space that you are in now, do you have a space where you work with? What are the tools? I mean, those are very hard materials to work with. They're metal, they're stones, they're resin. What is it? Do you have kind of an atelier that is like a goldsmith, like a jewelry maker, or?
No, normally I do everything here. I like to be in my hidden place there, and I work with all these materials, but sometimes I prepare things with the goldsmith. I prepare certain things which I add to my work. It depends.
Can we see any other piece that has a jewelry sculpture that is more kind of similar to the works that you put on your models when you have a performance? I'm just trying to show our viewers if we can see something that is more wearable.
It's wearable, but it's not tout à fait. Not just a second.
Okay, don't worry.
It's a different kind of jewelry. It's the masks that I use, like this one. And there are others that I would have loved to show you. It's also about, just a second.
So the performer has to hold it. It looks like the armors that warriors used to wear.
It is in a way, because it's a way like when you look at it, it's a cross. You can see that.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, I can see it. You have the horizontal two metal parts here and here, yes. And then you have the vertical one here, and you have a big bull down.
Yeah, normally it's held by ribbons from the outside. Normally, I took it off, but normally it's like this, and it's a way of how women see part of the things, but never the whole thing. So it's what you see from this side is not what you see from the other side. You can't see the whole. You always see things fragmented. So I take it off.
It's amazing.
I stopped doing performances with my jewelry in 2005.
So you began at the beginning more into jewelry and then they evolved becoming more sculptural, or you've always worked with sculpture before?
I always work with sculpture, and even my jewelry is not jewelry, and that's why the haute couture wanted to work with me. But with Torrent, the bustier that I made for them, it was a real sculpture, a real sculpture. But for me, it was periodic. I needed to play the game about the haute couture, about how to show a different way of beauty, about how to deal with beauty and women. Because very often I felt like they treat the models or the mannequin like a portmanteau. And it was terrible for me. And very often the models that worked for Gautier, for Torrent, they worked with me also. For my performances, which I made a couple of them at Musée Galliera, at other museums, it was a liberation for them. They felt they were loved and respected, and this is important.
This is an interesting subject. I would like you to develop more about the idea of what is the difference between other, let's say, designers using the model as a portmanteau, as you said, and how do you think you have freed her? I want you to tell me more, what is the role of your sculptures on her which freed her?
It was a kind of protection. They felt, with my jewelry, they felt they were even more beautiful. They were beautiful. But with my jewelry, they felt that they were strong, as if they were protected, as if it was kind of fetish or something that helped them to just be there and to exist and not to be afraid. And this, and strange enough, very often the people who wear my jewelry, they have the same feeling. They always tell me that once they get used to my jewelry, they can't wear other jewelry because it becomes, they just can't, because it doesn't have the same meaning. And very often my jewelry, they have, for instance, I make bracelets like this, very big ones, and this bracelets is just like, it's kind of a weapon also, because for a period I made jewelry that could be used as a weapon, that could be used to save her in a certain situation. It was a game, and I played it.
So they are armor-like.
Sometimes they are. Like, have you seen my
No.
my earring?
Wow.
My earrings are just, you have to be...
Okay, can you please take it off? It has something like a knife.
It is.
Oh my God.
It's the way you wear it, and it's the way, if somebody wants to hug you or to give you a kiss, they have to be careful. It's not just anyway, it's just like a ritual, and it's strange. This work, I have it since at least 20 years now. At least 20 years. And every time I have it, people just ask questions. They can't but ask questions. What is it? But for me, it's a kind of relation with the outside world. How it should, it's just like I'm here, and if anything happens, I'm here. I can take care of myself, you know. It's jewelry are not just to show that the beauty of the one who is wearing them. It's more, it's not also to show how rich we are. It's more who we are. If it can do that, then it's interesting for me.
Okay. So you have added an identity to the woman via those jewelry. You have backed up her identity, as if you have empowered her identity.
Exactly, because if she doesn't have an identity, she wouldn't be interested in my jewelry. I think women who are interested in my jewelry, they already have their identity, and they're looking for something that that gives them more assurance, more to feel singular, to feel different, and not to be afraid to be different, because this is also another question. We are afraid of being different. We should not. We are what we are, and we assume what we are.
So coming back to the female body and coming back to nudity, you have taken the philosophy of nudity into a level of expressing freedom. And even while you're speaking about your jewelry, which at times they embody the flesh itself, but at the same time it has a very high level of expressing freedom and power. So it's kind of, you have prepared your woman, your female body to be ready for any attack, let's say. I don't want to call it attack, but any experience that she might face.
Yes, because very often women were treated as a prey, and it's important to feel, even in 21st century, we sometimes we feel that we are a kind of prey, and this is, for me, is very scary, because why? And it's important to feel that you can find solutions. That it's, as I already said, it's not something definitive. It's not something like this way and no other way. There's always solutions, and there's always another way. And it's what I hope women can add.
Mm-hmm. Speaking about women being different, women being present, women being accepted around, can you tell us about your experience as an artist, and how did your milieu accept you as a female artist, whether in the Arab world or the Western world?
I think all artists suffer, male or female, to have their place in art history or in wherever they are. But I think women suffer a lot more to prove and to exist and to be more visible. And to arrive to that, I think it's important to do a work that is different, that adds something, that change the way we see things. And I think this is the only way to be in the art world, because it's not important to be a female or a male artist, but to be an artist, and to be universal, and not to be seen finally as a female artist. Because this is also seeing things from the patriarchal point of view. I think the only thing to change is to turn around like a sculpture and see from other sides, and to think differently.
Laila, you have succeeded in contributing to the art world with something unique. Still, have you ever faced difficulties by just being a female? I mean, being accepted in the art world, being accepted in a museum, let's say, contest, being accepted in an exhibit. Have you faced any problems during your artistic career?
Sure, all the time. I think being a female artist, the problem is that you are always codified as a female artist. And very often I've noticed that the male artists talk only about male artists. Very often they forget that there are other artists of the other sex, as if it disturbs something in them.
From the three mediums that you work with, whether sculpture, photography, or drawing, where do you find yourself best? Which medium relates to Laila Muraywid more? Are you more comfortable with photo? I've seen a lot of your photography work that you have posted on your Insta account. Which medium makes Laila Muraywid more comfortable and makes her express her ideas better?
I'm a sculptor that does photography, that makes drawings, but I'm a sculptor. Because for me, sculpture has something more real, a way to go into things, to transform materials, to make something like, for me, it's it's like magic for me. Sculpture is how to turn something that's plaster, resin, any kind of material, and make something out of it. Make something that touches you from the inside. For me, this is the most important thing that pushes me to continue working.
I will ask you one more question that has always intrigued me to know why. We've discussed before that most of your models, even in sculpture, you have things that are tied together, that are hidden, that are, like intertwined. Even your model, while she is photographed, most of your models are closing their faces or hiding. What is it about this? I know that we spoke about mystery and the factor of mystery, but why is your model, I'm going to refer to her as your model, why is she most of the times closing her face or concealing herself somehow?
She is just protecting herself, but she is seeing things through the mask she's putting on. She is, in a way, protecting herself from the outside world. You see parts of her and you think you saw the other part, but she is seeing everything around her through her masks.
Laila, would you like to show us any other works, any other...
Yeah, I would like to show you some others, another sculpture maybe, another 2 sculptures, and then we'll talk about Paris. Okay.
So this is supposed to be suspended from a ceiling, or what?
Yes, yes. And then there's this beside it. I'm going to put it the way it's going to be put, hanging from the ceiling. And this.
Wow. This should come on top of it?
Yes, like this. Ladder is going to... But normally, when they hang like, as I said.
Laila, I can't but ask you this question. You focus a lot on the upper part of the body and on hands and arms.
It happened that I'm showing you these 2 works, but in other works, there's also different parts of the body. Okay. After this one, I'll show you another one where it's not the hands, it's the dress, you see.
It's an amazing piece. Laila, why do I feel there is pain here? I don't know, it reminds me of, it looks like, as you have said, Balthus, I feel that there is a torn hand with blood and the remaining of the interior flesh parts within an arm.
In all the works, Wafa, pain is always there. It's normal, no?
Yeah, it is. This goes back also to your contrast that you love between showing, let's say, beauty and ugliness, pain and relief, power, but you don't show weakness. You tend not to show weakness. We're going to see the rest of the works. Laila, is it hollow from inside? Is it empty from inside? The black thing that I see, is this a hollow part?
Yeah, part of it from here, just part of it. But it's about relation of women with nature.
You've explained to me before about your relationship with nature and how you get inspired when you walk in nature and how you kind of blend with trees, flowers, the leaves, the soil. Tell me about this. Maybe this is exemplified in this work that we are seeing now.
We are parts of nature, but sometimes we forget that. And when we are in nature, we realize how small human beings are in relation to everything in nature. And when I go and make my walks, I just feel like there are so many things that I really would love to know more, to deal with. I think we need to learn more about nature and to respect more about nature. And to arrive to the point that when we put women in the realm of nature, to feel proud, not to feel inferior. This is very important.
Laila, can you explain to us the way you have prepared this piece?
It's something that belonged to a body and it doesn't belong anymore. I mean, the body doesn't exist anymore. This work was done during a period of the war in Syria, and for me it was a very difficult period, and for me it's just like a kind of a memorial to all these women that were killed, raped, suffered, and there's no trace of them. As if they passed and they didn't exist even. So this was a kind of memorial, yes, to remember that they existed somewhere.
What inspired you to create such a form, Laila? Is it the remaining of a head?
It's when you look at it, it's a dress, but the dress is kneaded with nearly parts of nature. Can you see it?
Yes, I can see it. When you put it on the floor, it looks as if it's a kind of conical, like a cone.
It's made to be seen as a surface of. Okay. It could be as, you know, the hair as river, as the earth, as so many things for me.
Yeah, it could look like a landscape, by the way.
It is, in a way. It is, but it's a dress.
Yeah. Laila, is this more metal than stones, or you have inlaid stones within it?
It's just all these women, what's left, you know. Resin, different kind of materials that, you know, put in the work. There's hair. I always work with the hair.
Is this real hair or kind of silk or fabric?
No, real hair.
Wow.
Parts of different works deal with the hair. It's very important for me.
What does the hair resemble to you, Laila?
It's empowerment. Like, you know, when I was a kid, I used to hate to cut my hair.
Yeah.
I used to cry every time. For me, the hair is the beauty, is part of the beauty of women, or part of her sexuality, part of her seduction, part, you know, it's not something that, you know, it's like every part of her. But we can see so much beauty in her hair. Yeah. So, and always we try to hide it and, you know, make laws and enter D and all that. But finally, it's beautiful. We should just enjoy looking at it.
This is really amazing talking to you, especially about your sculpture. You're so passionate about your sculpture. It says a lot about you. Then I would like just a little bit to know about your experience in being a Middle Eastern Syrian artist who has moved to Paris, and has Paris helped you? Has it freed you? Would you have thought that you would be able to do what you do in a Middle Eastern country, the way you're doing your art in Paris? Has Paris played a role?
When I came here to France, I had kind of a scholarship to continue my studies. So I did not have any worries, you know, I had only to work. And France really, in a way, helped me a lot because it opened so many things for me. But as usual, I think the being a woman is not easy anywhere. When I came to France, I was a lot,
disappointed.
Disappointed, exactly. With I thought there would be more freedom, more possibility of saying what you want without being, you know, afraid or just people looking at you. And actually, no. Actually, the level is a bit higher, but it's the same obsessions. But you get used to it.
So you're lucky being there, or you would have loved to be engaged more in areas of the Arab world, or you have more freedom expressing your art in France? Have you faced any problems, by the way, exposing your works in any Arab country? Have you?
Yes, sometimes. But my first exhibition, it was in Syria. It was in the 80s. I was studying also, and everybody was so shocked with the work, to the point I was really astonished. It seems that, I don't know, it seems that I put my work puts some people in uncomfortable positions. But anyway, it's things are changing and things are taking other forms, and yes.
Do you think this still applies in the Arab world? Do you think in the Arab world, in the Middle Eastern area, let's say, we have accepted seeing a nude body, a female nude body, a male nude body, even maybe different genders, not only...
Exactly, because you remember the photo that was on the wall? One part of this photo I couldn't show. I had to show the back because it was not possible to show.
Where?
It was in Dubai, 3 years ago. They were afraid that they might close the exhibition.
Also in Dubai?
It was also in Dubai, in 2008. But you know what? Even in France, when I showed the wedding, and there was another one which I did not show, and I'm not going to show, I had also reactions, you know, from the press, from that my work is very hard.
Even in France?
I was, yes. Yeah. That it's very courageous, but for me it's the minimum. Yeah. And anyway.
Laila, have you always worked on the female body, or at the beginning in your starting career period, have you tackled any other themes?
Injustice.
Injustice.
For me, yes. I can't support injustice. So maybe that's why I went into this idea of working on the female body. But all kind of injustice I just can't accept. And injustice, domination, not to be understood as I want to be understood.
Have you expressed any early works?
Would you like to see just one?
Yes, please.
Put them in place. شو نعمل؟
This is which period, Laila? Which years?
It was my first exhibition, my very first exhibition.
80s or?
In the 80s, yes, yeah.
And you still have the doll. You still have the young.
The same obsessions.
Girl.
the same obsessions.
Yes.
Which I...
What is the pig here? Is this kind of an offering? Is this an offering on the table, or?
In a way it is, and especially a pig, and a pig in a Muslim country, and you know, at that time in the 80s, so many questions to ask.
Taboos also, we're touching on taboos also, religious taboos and controversial traditions, yes, yes, okay.
Okay. Look at this.
So this is how, those were your beginning with nudes, huh?
Yes, yes.
Now this reminds me of the Rembrandt, you know, it's like an ox, the oxen.
You have an eye, you're wonderful, because I used to go to the meat market. And I used to make drawings, and I was fascinated by the touch.
Flesh.
Yes, flesh. I needed to know more about flesh. And the only way it was to go to the meat market. But what's interesting is that you learn so much from the meat. And the way it is hanged, it's still like, you saw the other work? The way I told you it should be, you see?
Yes, I saw it, the one that is suspended.
I think it's the same, always the same obsessions, the same pain, it's the same, it's not, yeah.
Laila, I can't but thank you very much for a wonderful conversation. You have no idea, no matter how much we prepared and we spoke together, but there is part of you today that just take a surface that is so real, so authentic, so creative. You're fighting for all the females in the world, it seems.
It seems.
It's my pleasure and my honor to have been introduced to you and to have this interview with you. You take good care and good luck, and hope to see you very soon.